Namaste Saraswati Devi Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama
Hari Hari Bol.
It's a lullaby. Put you out of sleep. And you've heard that chord progression a million times in your life. That's why you like it. There's a million songs with these chords. Right? You're sleeping on the lap of my... Prabhupada said, you put your head on the lap and then you put your head on someone's lap and then cut it off. You're sleeping on the lap of my arms. You have so much trust in her. But then she chops your head off when you're not looking. And that's over. And it's over. No more song. Anyway, Prabhupada gave it. Sleeping on the lap. Hare Krishna. I never got to sing my song, Radhe Shyam song. When you feel like the world has you down on the ground. You don't know that? That's famous song.
Very cool.
Elton John or something. When you feel like the world has you down on the ground, and it's hard to face another day. When everywhere you look, you can't find an answer. It's time to throw your hands up and say, we're not here. And as the light enters your heart. No, that's the second one. Who knows the words? I don't know the words to my own song. And you look for meaning, and you look for and as the light enters your heart, your whole will start to glow. Yeah. And as the light enters your heart, your whole world will start to glow. And you look for your problems, but they're no longer there, because you've begun to know who? 3, 4. Goes like this. When Arjuna saw the universal form, then this is what he said. He said, "Oh Lord of Lords, tell me what do I see? Have I done to you? Be gracious to me. I know you're the Lord, but I just don't understand. Please tell me your mission. Please tell me your plan." You know that verse? 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna saw the universal form, he said, "O Lord of Lords, tell me what do I see?" Oh, it's too low. Transpose. That's hard. Maybe it's got a transpose button. Good. Yes. Dummies can do it now. Oh Lord of Lords, tell me what do I see? You see the universal form. I bow down to you, be gracious to me. I know you're the Lord, but I just don't understand. But I just don't understand. Please tell me your mission. Please tell me your plan. that's in the Bhagavad Gita. When you start singing things, you don't realize that it's there. Tell me your mission, please tell me your plan. Then I forget the rest. I think I only performed that once, and it was 25 years ago.
So we had an exclusive chance.
I have so many songs I never performed. Chanaka Pandit. You know the verse about time? You can't buy time back. All the money you have, you can't buy back a lost time. You know, that's the Chanaka Pandit slogan. You ever heard that? All the gold in the world can't buy back a moment's time. You know that? You heard that slogan? Oh, that's too low. All the wealth in the world cannot buy back a moment's time. A moment's time. There's no power on earth that can bring back a moment lost at any cost. What's today's verse? Because yesterday is gone, it's gone away. Nothing in the world can bring it back today. Yesterday is gone, it's gone away, gone away. Chanaka Pandit. Isn't that amazing? You don't realize what's there until you put it to music. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes?
Yes.
This one is really heavy. Blessings on all living beings. And you have hundreds of names, like Krishna and Govinda. Here's the heavy part. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. I am so unfortunate that I have no taste. I am so unfortunate that I have no taste for your holiness. It's kind of heavy, isn't it? We've recited that before, right? I'm so unfortunate I have no taste for your name. But when you sing it, it's different, right? Yours? Or is it only different for me? But I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. I am so unfortunate that I have no taste. I am so unfortunate that I have no taste for your holy name. And so if you turn it around, the opposite is true. That I'm so fortunate that I have some taste. I'm just so fortunate because I've got a taste. I am so fortunate to have a taste. Flip it around. So if you don't have a taste, most unfortunate. You have some taste, most fortunate. Right? Yeah? twice in Bhagavad Gita this verse shows up in the 9th and 18th chapter. Krishna says, think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and I promise you will come to me. That's the 18th. I promise you this. I promise you this. I promise you this.
But Guru Maharaj, you said that like the opposite of this song before that we can sing that I'm happy because I have a taste, but it seems that a pure devotee never thinks that he has taste. In the sense that it's always this lack of taste.
He may not think it, but he has it.
Yeah, but he will never say it, that I have taste. He's saying that I'm over-indulgent. I'm just asking.
Sometimes, not necessarily. Not necessarily. They might say it in an inadvertent way, not praising themselves, but just talking about how Krishna's pastimes are relishable.
And all the prayers like, oh, but
there's different levels. That's the beginning level. But on other levels, he's relishing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I'm drowning in an ocean of nectar when I chant the holy name. It's right there. I forget what song. I'm drowning in an ocean of nectar when I chant the holy name. I'm drowning in an ocean of nectar when I chant your holy name. Yes, I'm drowning. I'm drowning in nectar. That's what he said.
But also he says that I have a taste. So
But he's representing different stages. That stage I have no taste is for us. But I have no taste, but I want to taste. I'm struggling for it.
Lord Chaitanya also.
Yeah, she's asking. But when they offer prayer, sometimes they're playing the part of conditioned soul to show us how we should be thinking. But then they reveal, like Prabhupada, he wrote this poem. I'm sitting on I actually, if I had a guitar, I could play. I have to figure out the chords. Sitting on Sri Vrindavan, many thoughts I have.
Use guitar or guitar?
No, I won't be able to play it.
Guitar, no?
No. So he said, no, what was the next line? He said, you ruined everything. I lost my sound. No. Maya has shown me. No. Krishna has shown me the naked form of Maya. everything has become tasteless to me. So he's revealing his realization. Krishna, show me the naked form of life. Everything's become tasteless. So he's sharing his realization. And then he says, where are my friends? Where are my family? And then the chorus. This is a heavy verse. Who will give me news of them all? Tell me who now? Tell me who now? Uh-oh. Should be this good. All that's left is just a list of names. All that's left is just who will tell me? Where have my loving parents gone? Where are my relatives? Who will tell me? All that's left is just a list of names because they're all dead. So he's sharing his realization. Completely renounced everything. And everything's gone. And then one verse he says, I'm a fruitless glory because I've renounced and I can't do anything for my family, so they all rejected me. So they're sharing their realization. What do you think?
No.
Sing your heart out. And then the famous one, which we can all sing. Lord, I'm just a puppet in your hands. Can't sing today. And if you brought me here to dance, make me dance, make me dance. Lord, make me dance. I'm just a puppet in your hands. If you brought me here to dance, make me dance, make me dance. Dance as you like. Can you sing with me? Oh Lord, I'm just a puppet in your hands. If you brought me here to dance, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. Can't do that. That's Prabhupada and Jaladutta. Some of you might think that Prabhupada actually knew it was going to happen. Like he could see the future, because we hear that story and he saw everything. But when he was getting on that boat, he didn't know what was going to happen. He thought it would be likely that nothing would happen. So you have to understand this prayer in context, because we could say, when I go on Sankirtan, I sing, "Oh Lord, I'm just a puppet." Yeah, but that's not the same thing as probably getting on that boat, having no idea how he'll live, and if anyone will take the Krishna consciousness. So it was a different mood, right? Yeah, that's pretty. Can we sing it together? Should I put a beat on this? So we can rock and roll? Let's see what tempo.
This maybe Indian.
Sometimes you go slower, you go faster. Lord, I'm just a puppet in your hands. Now we can put on. Check this out. Trumpet. Lord, So why don't we talk about Prabhupada and the Jaladuta? I think to me personally, one very inspirational thing and philosophical point about Prabhupada and the Jaladuta is that if Prabhupada was not successful in preaching, he was successful in making the effort to execute it. And there's a really beautiful letter, and Prabhupada said, Krishna doesn't see the result, he sees the effort. So, from the external point of view, Prabhupada's preaching in India was not that successful, not compared to what he did after he left India. So let's say he came to America and nothing happened. He's preaching to a bunch of hippies, and they couldn't follow Krishna consciousness. They tried, but they couldn't follow the principles. They tried to chant rounds, and they couldn't do it. And nobody who tried it could do it. And so no one became a devotee. And then there's no organization, there's no one to spread it. And then he would have gone back. And we wouldn't have heard about him, and people might have thought he was a failure. But definitely wasn't a failure. Even if he failed, he wasn't a failure. Because in my mind, he was a success as soon as he decided he was going to do it. Right? He was a success when he got his passport. He was a success when he finished the Bhagavatam. He was a success when he got on the ship. When he first stepped on the ship, that was a major success. He was a success when he got off the boat, right, in Boston. He was a success before he had materialized any success. Because he was a pure devotee sincerely trying to follow his guru. And that's success. And then if you do that, Krishna can make you a success. So Prabhupada said, make me a success or failure as you like. I don't know how people will understand. So you can make me a success or failure as you like. So if you want to make me a failure, that's fine. You make me a success. But the effort, that's the success. So I think that's important. Because if you just judge success externally, you could become pretty depressed if you're a failure. Right? But your effort is the success. That's what Krishna says. And he might want to make you a success, he may not want to make you a success. He may want to make you a failure because he wants to see what you're going to do if you're going to give up. Do you know that Prabhupada said Krishna took everything away from him and Krishna wanted to see what I would do? Like that. Test. Like when you go through difficulty, sometimes that difficulty may be directly coming from Krishna. And Krishna wants to see what you're going to do. You're going to today I don't chant any rounds because things are really bad. That does happen to some people. Has it ever happened to you? Things get so bad you throw your beanbag away? Krishna's watching. Okay. So it's a test. So Prabhupada said, Krishna took everything away from me. If you know the story, you know that when Prabhupada left household life, everything was taken away. And then what did Prabhupada do? He went on preaching. And he came to America and he didn't have no money. When he was in India, he hardly had any money. Really, really difficult. Just basically nothing. And not many devotees know this, but it was so hard in New York. Prabhupada had so little. Sometimes he would go to bed and he was hungry. Like really hungry. But he didn't have anything to eat because he didn't have money. Did you know that? How many of you knew that? Yeah. You see all the videos of Prabhupada flying in on a jet and a big garlands, limousines. It wasn't like that at the beginning. There was no money, nobody to help. few crazy people and a few less crazy people, but so yeah. But then Prabhupada said that after he took everything away, eventually he gave me everything. And then Prabhupada said, and then he wanted to see what I was going to do. Okay, you passed the test of taking everything away. Now let's give you everything and see if you pass that test. So, this is a really good point, isn't it? Like sometimes Krishna, like we were talking yesterday, sometimes Krishna gives you praise. Krishna's looking at you, God. Oh, I was counting on you. And look at that. You got so bewildered by the praise. So when things are bad, or when things are good, you can think, okay, Krishna wants to see what I'm going to do. Am I going to give up and just throw my beads down and say, okay, forget it. It's too difficult. I have to go out and get my quotient of sense gratification. This is too hard. Or am I going to continue? And then Krishna sees that. And it's amazing if you do that, how much mercy you'll get. If you think like that, it's easier to tolerate. And especially if you're preaching Krishna consciousness, you're teaching Krishna consciousness. Sometimes you will teach something and Krishna will put you in the exact situation to test you to actually follow what you teach. I had this experience. I was in Vrindavan in the late 90s. It was the appearance day of Vamana, and I was asked to give class. So I talked about how Bali Maharaj, he just accepted that Krishna. He didn't try to fight with Krishna, like Sukracharya was fighting with Krishna. Krishna was taking everything. And he was telling Bali, don't give it. And Bali was saying, no, let's give it. He sets that example of surrender. So I was saying, like, if Krishna wants to take things away, you have to just let him. And about 3 hours later, someone stole my computer. And the computer, I just bought it a few months ago, and it was like $2,000. In those days, they were more expensive. And when that happened, I was like, I have to be careful what I say. Yeah, I had similar experiences recently with people like attacking me. And I always say that, you should always be compassionate no matter how they, how much they attack you. So. Guru Maharaj, are you going to attack them back? No. It's too late now. I can't. I already told you you can't. I have to follow. So, Krishna wants to see. Okay. So now I put you in a situation. Are you going to follow what you tell everybody? So you can think like that. Krishna's watching, he wants to see what I'm going to do. And he either gives me, or takes away, or puts me in a difficult situation. And if you actually do it, you get so much mercy. Krishna's pleased. One lecture Prabhupada said, if you can please Krishna, what more could you possibly want? Meditate on that statement. If you could please Krishna, if you do something and Krishna's pleased, just think about that. You have, like you're going through a difficulty, but you have an opportunity to tolerate it, withstand it, so Krishna will be pleased. What a fantastic opportunity that is. And you could do something that Krishna's pleased. Wow. What more could you ask for? Right? Imagine you got a letter. My dear so-and-so. From Krishna, my dear so-and-so. I'm very pleased with you. That's it. What more could you ask for? Well, you could have a choice. We could give you $1 million or a letter from Krishna that he's very pleased. What would you take? Prabhu, I'd take both. No, you only get one. Which one? Well, I'll take the gold because I could please Krishna tomorrow. That's what my daughter would say. Isn't that interesting? And Prabhupada said, if you can please Krishna, what more could you want? Ask for.
But often when we are in a difficult situation, we are in such an anxiety that we are like more focused on resolving the situation than like taking shelter.
It's kind of
at least I have it.
self-pity. One devotee said, he said, depression is a kind of way to draw attraction because it's like everything's, it's very self-centered. It's like all about me. I don't feel good. I don't know. So we should think like that, you know. Okay, I'm in anxiety, things are difficult. But the whole universe is now, it's about me. That's all I'm thinking. You know, my consciousness is like right here. What about the rest of the world? What about Krishna's instructions? What about your Guru Maharaj? Oh, so I'm in anxiety. It's just me. I can't deal with this. That's an interesting meditation, isn't it? So that was, that was really Prabhupada's mood. Take your mind off yourself, put it on helping others, that will solve your problems. You won't have problems because you'll be thinking too much about other people's problems. If you always think about your problems, then it's very, very self-centered. Right? Then you have the thought that if I'm a devotee and I'm trying to serve sincerely, then whatever happens is just in the line of service. I have to tolerate it. That's just what happens. You go out and preach, there's so many problems, isn't it? You want a comfortable life, easy life?
But in this song, Shyam, that we've been singing, there was a line that it said that, when I took the shelter of Raja Shyam, like my problems disappeared. So what does it mean? Because
it means we haven't taken shelter. That's what it means. Should I write a song about that? I haven't taken shelter. I just think that I have.
Because when someone is becoming spiritual, this person tends to think that there will be no problems. And when we are devotees, we see that we have problems, and sometimes problems even increasing.
Well, in a certain stage of Krishna consciousness, you won't see the problems as problems. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said, I forget exactly what he said, but he saw problems in a positive way. And Bhagavatam says problems are a staircase back to Godhead. But Prabhupada did say that he doesn't see problems as problems, doesn't see that he has a problem. But if you're not on that level, the other way to think is that Krishna put the problem in front of you, give you an opportunity to become stronger. Because once you become a devotee, technically speaking, you're not under karma anymore. So, technically speaking, if there are problems, Krishna has decided that these are the problems you need. You all have your own set of problems. And of course, sometimes we create problems for ourselves. So, if I have taken shelter of Krishna and there are problems, either it's due to my weakness, or I'm strong and Krishna just put a problem there so I could become strong. Or so I could become more glorious. That's also there. Sometimes Krishna will put an obstacle in front of the devotee. The devotee overcomes the obstacle and the devotee is glorified. So Krishna wanted to glorify the devotee. He put him in a difficult situation. Krishna knew the devotee would be victorious, and now the devotee becomes glorified. And then that devotee sets an example. Now we have an example for ourselves. So that's important. Like Bhagavatam, all these examples of life situations that we all go through. And then you have examples of how a pure devotee goes through it. And so Krishna likes to glorify his devotee, and that's what, like he glorified Bali Maharaj by putting him in difficulty temporarily. You had a question?
Yes, I was thinking if my way of thinking is correct. Like, if I have a problem and I don't solve that, and another problem very similar to that, but with another person comes, and these things coming back, it's because Krishna is giving me the opportunity to work on that situation again.
You mean
like,
same problem with different people?
Yes. Is that a thing, or?
Well, it's interesting. Because there's two ways problems will come. We'll create them or Krishna will create them. So sometimes you have to distinguish, did I create it or did Krishna create it? But if it's a repeated problem, it's likely you created it. It's like if you, every time you cook, you burn something, it's unlikely Krishna created it. The pot created it, I don't know. Yeah. So repeated problems are generally indications of the same action or the same mentality being repeated. But sometimes if you're doing your best and you didn't do anything apparently to create a problem, the problem's there, then you might think there's some, Krishna's putting me through some situation that he thinks I need to do. Sometimes what Krishna will do, which is so nice, is if you're attached to something, he'll make sure you can't enjoy it. like something that's like something that you know you want to renounce, and it's really hard to renounce. He'll make it easier for you by always creating some kind of problem or trouble when you try to enjoy it. So you remember, every time I try to enjoy this, I suffer. And then you understand, Krishna must be doing that because she doesn't suffer when she does it. He doesn't. I'm the only one, or I'm not the only one, but some people don't suffer. So maybe they're not attached to those things. But I'm attached, so Krishna makes me suffer. It could be. Yes? That's protection. Have you ever tried to do something and every time you tried to do it, it didn't work? Every time you tried to do it, it was backfired on you? That could mean that is something Krishna doesn't want you to do, or doesn't want you to get near to, and he's just protecting you. I wish I could do that. I wish it never happens. Or it almost happens, and then it falls through. So maybe Krishna thought, it wouldn't be good for you. Yes, we have, different ways we can see it, different choices. But I think one mistake devotees make, like anything bad happens, they go, it's just my karma, okay. Like my past karma. But sometimes it's what you actually did 1 minute ago. Okay, that was past karma also. But it wasn't a past lifetime. Why did that happen? I have bad stars. No, that happened because you just did something stupid. That's why it happened. So sometimes we blame it on the stars when we actually do something stupid, and we don't realize we just did something stupid. And we try to avoid admitting I did something stupid and blame it on some past karma that I don't even know I created. Isn't it? Sometimes devotees get too philosophical. They get so philosophical they become impractical. Isn't it? Like there's a practical reality in front of them and they're philosophical. I just read something interesting. This is really interesting, and I think this affects devotees, maybe more male devotees than female. As you know, sometimes if something's painful, an emotion that's painful, you want to repress it, suppress it, run away from it, put it in the closet, pretend it doesn't exist, put it in a balloon and throw it in outer space. You want to do something to get rid of it. And I just read the other day that one mechanism for doing that is intellectualization. You intellectualize it, and then you don't feel it, because when you're intellectual, you're not emotional. I used to do that all the time. I didn't feel anything. I didn't even know what a feeling was, but I was totally intellectual. Someone will say, how does that feel? I'll go, I'll have to think about it. Can I Google that? Seriously, I would just be in my head. What do you mean by feeling? How do we understand it? Intellectualize what a feeling is. It's just crazy. I mean, we're trained to be philosophers and intellectuals, but it was a mechanism to avoid feeling. That's so interesting. So sometimes being too philosophical might get you off track. Could be. There's another phenomenon. This is really interesting. Sometimes somebody reads something in Prabhupada's books. They go, wow, that's amazing. They read it, they get all fired up, and they go out and do something that Prabhupada never did, nor never would do. Have you seen that? Somebody thinks they read it in the book and they think, oh, this is what Prabhupada wants me to do. And they end up not realizing that how they understood it is not how Prabhupada meant it. Prabhupada never did what they did, never said what they said. So that's also interesting.
Like a few days ago, someone posted on Facebook an announcement from some authorities in Mayapur. There was a request for Chinese devotees if they
Don't
have
come
some.
to China. Don't come to
It's
India.
risky to come because of this coronavirus and so on. And someone had a comment there that it's such a cruel that you don't allow such sick people to come. They're supposed to come here. They're supposed to die in Mayapur. I was like shocked. What?
And
I was
actually,
like about to
we
ask.
should all die in Mayapur, so we should bring them all, and we should hug and kiss all of them.
And the story
Krishna
is
wants us to
going on,
die.
and I was about to comment something, but some other girl did it before me, and she said, "Prabhu, are you serious? You know they're going to come here, like thousands of people
Compassion.
are here, so they will like be infected, and they will go to the other countries, and it's going to grow." And then the comment of this Prabhu was, "Are you supposed to read Prabhupada's books?"
You're supposed to.
Supposed
Oh,
to
you
read
don't
Prabhupada.
understand
You
Prabhupada's
don't understand Prabhupada's books, and it's like, oh.
That's a good example. You know why? You know what the problem is? And it's hard to fix this problem. We don't all have brahminical brains. So sometimes we take what Prabhupada says, it gets filtered into tamagun.
It's like total lack of common sense.
Yeah, or even lack of common sense, which tamagun would be maybe a good example of that. And then it gets filtered, and then we end up saying something that Prabhupada never said, or doing something he never did. That's not uncommon. At least don't do that yourself. Something you have?
I recently read about that there's this, they call it Daniel Kruger effect.
The what?
Daniel Kruger effect.
The Daniel Kruger effect.
Something like that. They studied that the less people know about something, the more smart or more they
The what? The what?
less they know about the subject,
The less
the
they know.
more they think they know it.
Oh, the less they know, the more they can do. Isn't that the definition of a teenager?
Yes.
The less you know, the more you think you know, and the more you know, the less you think you know.
That's why it's not easy to be in the association of devotees, because, as you said, most of us have this tendency to just filter this knowledge, this Prabhupada statement, and then you meet devotees and they are saying such things as you, are you serious? And even sorry to say, even Prabhupada disciples, they are probably filtering this.
You have to associate with devotees that are like you.
So I should have a t-shirt. I'm going to associate.
I think Krishna created different people. And so, like some people say, just different gurus for different people. So, as gurus are different, people are different. So.
But sometimes, like, you live in your country, and a guru or Prabhupada disciple is visiting your country and your place, and you know, out of respect, you are going for the class, and then you don't agree with everything that this person is saying.
That's
that
one of
you
the
respect him, but at the same
That's
time
one
you
of the
feel that
questions. It's one of the questions that we deal with in the retreat.
Okay.
That's the difficulty. That's the exact question. You hear from a senior devotee, you even hear from your guru and you disagree. How do you deal with it? That's the question. So I'm not going to answer it because you have to answer it. But I can tell you a general answer. Number one, don't become offensive. That's it. You may say, I don't really, that's the way he looks at it. Okay, maybe that works for him. Maybe that works for brahmacharis. It wouldn't work for me. But, still have to maintain some respect. But then you choose your association, where you get inspired. It's a big movement. Lots of people. And India is different than the West. Different parts of the West are different. Asia is different. So, because people are different, we'll have to make room for them, and we'll have to learn how to get along. That's the challenge.
But the problem is that sometimes we are meeting devotees who are very black and white, and they are like trying to force us with their own ideas, and they expect us to agree with them. And if we have a completely different way of thinking or seeing, like Krishna consciousness, they are like trying to make us feel guilty.
Yeah, well, that's their nature. Attention, attention. 1 out of every 6 persons has a brain that can only think black and white.
Yeah,
So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. 1, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 5 or 6 people in this room whose brains are.
Those people will have the T-shirts.
I am black and white.
Well, it would also be good if they know they are.
But they usually don't know. They don't see it.
Anyway, if you have 2 black and white people and they agree, they'd be good friends.
If they agree in the same area.
See, I don't know if you know this, but the way Google and Facebook and all that works is when you search certain sites, they bring up more sites. So whatever you think, you think the whole world thinks that way because that's everything comes to you about what you believe. Anyway, what I would suggest, in realization of all this, I would suggest going back to Godhead. Because when you go back to Godhead, everyone is like relieved of all their
But there
maladies.
are also disagreements there.
But they won't bother you. The disagreements will inspire your bhakti, they won't bother you. Of course, some devotee will say, if so-and-so is going back to Godhead, I'm going to stay down here. But so-and-so will be different when he goes back to Godhead. Prabhu, what are you doing up here? I thought you'd never get here. I thought you'd never get here. I think it's really the problem in this world can be amazing impetuses for bhakti. Because you say, but devotees are like this, and this goes like that, and some gurus are like this, and I can't relate to that, and that seems so wrong, and it's so chauvinistic, and all of this is like, yeah, and when you go back to Godhead, none of these problems. If you don't like it, just go back to Godhead, because it's not going to be much different. We'll try to sort it out, but like you said, there are always all kinds of different people, and we don't make them different, they come different. That's how they're born. Yes?
But if we keep very engaged in our service or whatever we believe, trying to follow sincerely, that won't bother us so much.
Yeah, that's true. But it also depends on your nature. Some people are bothered by everything. That's their nature. It's just the way they are. Things that they're easily disturbed. But what you say is also true. But still, there's always something about you. But it's just a reminder that's the nature of this world.
Those kind of people that everything bothers them, it's like a mental illness, or they can't really change.
You can be changed if you want to. I mean, I'm sure some people by nature are just like that. Most people, yeah, you can change. Here's an interesting thought. And a lot of devotees don't think this way. We talk about controlling your mind, but we don't talk about controlling your controlling your attention. So if you put attention on what's wrong with everybody and everything, yeah, obviously you'll be disturbed. If you put attention on yourself or your service or something, yeah. So we say control your mind. What about control your attention? Because control your mind really means control your attention. Because there's so many things that are going on in your mind. But where is your attention attracted to? Like your attention may be attracted to all the things you can't do. I can't do this, I can't do that. And that's where your attention is. Or your attention could be, I can do this, I can do that. So think of controlling your mind in terms of controlling your attention. What's your attention on? It's very interesting. If you start noticing your attention, it's really interesting. What's your attention on? I have this problem that's bothering me. My attention's on that problem all the time. Right? Isn't that interesting?
My husband, he has a question because, like, we are all different. There is this kind of variety of personalities in our movement, but this movement is also about preaching, about spreading Krishna consciousness, and we have to cooperate to some point. So, how those different people, because sometimes we are forced to cooperate with.
How to do it?
Yeah, how to do
Possible?
it. How to
You
make
find out at the retreat. So the whole retreat is focused on improving yourself as the means for being able to have better relationships. Because ultimately, how you do it is by changing the way you deal with people, your attitudes, based on understanding more about yourself and what will create a bad relationship according to who you are and your nature and how you interact with people. So, I may not like what you say, but I could like you. But some people, if they don't like what you say, they don't like you. It's all one package. Like, you can't be a nice guy because you don't believe in female Diksha gurus. So, I don't like you. But you may be very nice and we could have a very good relationship. But you may be of that mindset, right? And I don't like what you believe. Everything I don't like about you. I don't like your wife. I don't like your house. I don't like your daughter. I don't like you. Just like anything about you, I don't like because you are anti-female Diksha gurus. And anyone who's anti-female Diksha gurus is a total nutcase and just completely crazy, total conservative, irrelevant to everything. So some people think like that. And so how are they going to have relationships if they're so extreme in their thinking? Right? Okay, he believes that. I understand why he believes it. He's a nice guy. I don't believe it, but it doesn't have to bother me. Yeah. But for some people, then you'll see that person and go, oh my God, there's so-and-so, my day is ruined. I have to go jump in the Ganga. Literally, it's about you and what's going on with you that makes you react that way. And so that's where relationships start, with understanding your own mental, psychological, emotional processes and how it can be unhealthy in relationships. Yeah. Right? Everyone finds it convenient, easier to find what's wrong with someone or something. And you know why? Because when you find out what's wrong with someone, you don't have time and energy to find out what's wrong with you. It's another mechanism to avoid dealing with yourself. Don't misunderstand this. Fault finding is a mechanism to avoid dealing with your own problems. Because your attention is on another person. And now your attention cannot be on yourself. And why is your attention on another person? So you don't have to deal with yourself. I mean, there may be many reasons you fault find. That's one of them. To avoid introspection.
But seeing the problems is not fault finding, yes? Just
Depends.
see
It
that
depends. Depends where it goes in your mind. Seeing it, okay, we all see the problem because it's hard not to see the problem. But then, what happens the next second after you see it? That will be different for all of us. And that's going to determine your reaction to that problem, your reaction to those people, your own emotional state, everything. So you can get 20 people in this room, show them a problem, and get 20 different reactions. Some don't care, some are happy, some are angry, some are depressed, some want to go out and tear a building down, all these different reactions, but it's the same problem. So what does that mean? It means we have to understand our own process, how we deal with others, we deal with problems. And then when you understand that, you realize it's not so much about that fault or that problem. It's about how I relate to it. Right? We did a whole workshop about this. It was amazing. And we just asked the devotees, in terms of relationships, like how they respond and react. And they started studying their own process. When a person does this, I react this way. A person does that, I react this way. And started to see, it had very little to do with the person. It was all about me. Then they could understand, oh, that's why sometimes I have bad relationships, because I don't know how to react in a healthy way. You know, like, I teach marriage, so one of the things you learn, at least in the course we teach, that the problems are not worth getting divorced over. Problems are not worth just destroying yourself over and destroying a relationship. There's a way to deal with it. But you know, you can be different, he can be different. You can disagree and still have an amazing relationship. But some people, if they disagree, they'll kill one another. Or the husband, you must agree with me. You're my wife. Whatever I say, you must agree. So but I'm different, I don't agree. No, you must. It's not going to work.
We have a funny situation because one of our friends, he's having some very serious marriage issues, and he is blaming wife and kids. And he came to me asking for advice, and he said, you know, I'm thinking about going for the professional therapy because I want a therapist to tell my wife and my kids that there's something wrong with them. And you know, I just study psychology, so I already know that the problem is him.
Of course.
And I said, yeah, sure, go for the therapy. And I was 108% sure that this therapist will tell him that you are the problem. And yes, he went for the therapy, and the therapist said, you know, we can continue therapy, but like family therapy, but first you have to go for your own therapy because you are the main reason of the problem. And now he's in shock.
Well, blaming someone for your problems is a very immature way to deal with the problem. And that's another reaction. Many ways we react, different ways we react. But, no. You say no is but in Russian? No? No? Oh. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
Blaming others.
What?
Blaming others?
Yeah, blaming others. Well, yeah. So, the problem is when you do things like this, or other immature things, it has a horrible effect on your spiritual life. Like, you know, your happy, peaceful family gets disturbed, your nice relationships with devotees get disturbed. You start fault-finding with all the authorities, and, you know, and it may just be coming from a psychological problem, some need that's not fulfilled, but the result is Vaishnava aparad, and it's destructive. So if you have an unhealthy psychology, it can lead you to make offenses. That's the problem. Or it could lead you to give up. I'm so bad, what's the use? Krishna doesn't care. I'm throwing away my Gita. You know, things like that. So it wasn't even a spiritual problem. The spiritual problem is a byproduct of the psychological problem. Does that make sense?
problems, like personal problems, relationships, our chants get better?
Our what
It's easier to chant?
Well, definitely if you have bad relationships, it can negatively impact all kinds of aspects, not only japa, but the general idea is we have good relationships with devotees, we serve them, everything's nice, and then everything goes well. Yes?
I'm having a problem with chanting.
Yeah, well, there may be many reasons. You have to examine. Shall we stop? Okay. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yep.
So tomorrow at 4:30, if you want to come, we're going to go on the Ganga and chant up and down the Ganga. You're all invited. If you're not in Mayapur, you have one day to get here. You want to do kirtan, right? Yeah? Really? You don't have a harmonium here? Oh, wait a minute, I have an idea.
The same. This.
No, it's not the same. Without a harmonium, I can't even figure the melody. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Sri house. After Mangala, after Tulsi Puja. You want to do it? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Niyata Prakasha.
Yam Shama Sundarama That's another verse. That's how you sing it. Yam, sing that verse. Yam Shama Sundarama Chinta Ulasubha Coming back, that's what you sing when he's coming back with the crowd. All that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away should be done as an offering unto me. To me, you can sing it. All that you do. All that you eat, all that you offer and give away should be done as an offering unto me, unto me, unto me, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer, give away, should be done as an offering unto me, unto me, unto me, unto Jai. One more song. You'll remember Sean, you'll remember Sean, when the flowing moves along the fields for Raja. You'll forget your world and your jealous foes as you walk in sands of gold. You'll remember Sham when the far wind moves among the fields of Raja. You'll forget your foes. You'll forget the world and your jealous foes as you walk in sands of gold. As you walk in sands of gold. As you walk in sands of gold. We need the Mayapur version. You'll remember Gore when the fog, what does the fog do? You'll remember Gore in the misty field. You remember Gore.
Not mustard fields.
What?
Mustard.
You remember.
Mustard field of gold.
When the golden sun sets among the fields of mustard. Among the fields of
Second verse. I never
What's the name? What's the short name for Mayapur? Among the yeah, well, short like broad. You have broads. We need a one syllable.
lie.
What's the dam? Mayapur. Not the green. Isn't there a shorter name?
It's not short.
You'll remember when you remember when the orange sun sets among the fields of mustard.
Mustard.
You'll forget your woes and all your problems as well as you walk in muddy fields. As you walk in muddy fields. You remember Gore when you walk along the muddy Ganga trail. The muddy Ganga trail. And the muddy Ganga trail. Someone will have to write that song.
I used to one prime day.
What?
Do you remember Sham? This one.
The whole
It's very
thing?
long.
The whole thing? I have a shorter version.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the It's being broadcast to the world. This is dangerous. It's only for very elevated devotees.
Ah, yes.
Only for elevated Rasik devotees.
Like us.
Bhaktas is okay.
Maybe. My wife likes it. We should get a beat, right? It's the wrong beat. It's like it could work if you slow it down. You'll forget the world and your jealous foes as you walk in the sands of gold. Boy, I can do accompaniment. And the west wind moves on the fields of Raja. You'll forget and sands of gold. It didn't work. Let's do the last one. The last verse is nice. You don't know the words, so it's like not fun. Many years have passed since those autumn days among the fields of Raja. See the children play in those forest groves as they dance in the silence of the world. You'll remember Shyam Radha by his side on the fields of Raja, sharing loving smiles, many joking words as they dance in sands of gold. That's a nice line. Sharing loving smiles, many joking words as they dance in sands of gold. 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 Now Vaishnava Seva is so happy I'm playing his keyboard.
Use local memorization method. It's best, for learning this.
Maybe on the boat we can sing the Rasa Lila, Rasa Lila song. And the whole Rasa Lila, the whole chapter of Rasa Lila I've recorded. I've put to this melody. Amazing. You remember Shyam Radha by his side among the fields of Raja, sharing loving smiles and joking words as they dance in sands of gold. That's sweet, right?
Yeah. Very romantic.
But it's very long. You sent me. Wow, how many?
I sang one verse twice.
Yeah, but the version you sent me was like, I don't know, 7, 8.
Yeah, that's the Rasa Lila, right? I said the Rasa Lila. Krishna plays his flute and the gopis come among the fields. He tells them why you're here. You should go home now among the sands of gold. This is the whole chapter. I have to record it.
Yeah, can I record it?
No, I mean actual audio, good recording.
CD.
CD.
Let's put it out on Facebook. See what happens.
With bass.
That song's okay. It's straight from Bhagavatam. This is like, not straight. The other one is just written from the Bhagavatam. Just paraphrased the verses and made the song. So the whole Leela is there. Hare Krishna.